Hey, welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. I'm Wood. In this series, we're comparing two accounts that I started at the same time on the same day, and I'm playing the same way with one major difference. One account is free to play, the other has a monthly spending budget of $50. It's day 70. Let's check our progress. Thanks for joining me today. As every day, we have a green border around the free-to-play account and no border around the budget account. So when I go back and forth, you'll know which one I'm on. I just want to go over some of the news and some of the kind of developments and stuff that are going on in the game, and just to kind of give you my perspective and my view of things. There were some things that I was worried about, and I think it's going to be okay. I think I'll get into that. All right, so Forge Pass. Finally, the Forge Pass opened up today. I was really excited about that. So it looks like we have Defiant and Righteous. I already purchased this on the budget account, by the way. The reason that I did, and I do like the Righteous set. I actually think the Righteous set is a good set. It's basically it's a mix of a resistance set and a speed set. It's a little bit less than speed, but not much. It's 10% speed for every two-piece set, so it's really quite good. But we also have some Defiant stuff going on. You can see here we're getting some Defiant materials also in this set, so it's sort of a hybrid that we're getting both the Righteous and the Defiant. I don't know that they've done this before, because I've never bought the Forge Pass on any account I've ever had other than this one last month. I didn't know that this is something that they were going to do, and so if it has happened, I didn't know about it, but as far as I know, this is the first time they've done this, where they've mixed in. And so at the end of this Forge Pass, if you buy the $20 version or the $40 version, you get these 6 pieces of 6-star legendary, both Righteous and Defiant. That's pretty good. The problem is there's no guarantee that the gear is going to be good, or that you get good substats or main stats, but it gives you chances for it. The main reason that I found the Forge Pass to be so impactful on the budget account last month, because of all that extra experience in silver, and it's in all battles. It's not just in campaign like the raid card is. So I really liked the Forge Pass last month, and like I said, there's a lot of great stuff in here. The silver, the chaos ore, the glyphs, there's all kinds of stuff, and then the forge materials. Forge materials, you can get a lot of points for forging during a CVC. I wasn't super lucky when it came to the instinct set last month. If I go down here on instinct, I'll show you. I was able to put a couple of sets together, but nothing great. I still haven't rolled a lot of it up, but the reason that I haven't rolled a lot of it up is because it wasn't very good. I'm hopeful that we get some better luck this month. We do have artifact enhancement going on right now as well, and so I'm gonna try and roll some more of that up. I took a clan quest to roll up a few banners, so after I get those banners, then we'll see where we are on the artifact enhancement event. But I did sell quite a few artifacts and built up some silver, so we should be able to complete the second artifact enhancement for the fusion just fine. So I'll go over Authoritrix Lamasu, or Lamasu. I want to say Lamasu. Yeah, I like that. Authoritrix Lamasu is the reward for the clan siege. We'll build up fragments for her. Yeah, you can see she showed up in the fragment summon pool, and she is in the game. If you go to the demon spawn, she shows up as a void legendary. Look how pretty this one is. I love the art design on this one. I love the tail. Look at the tail with that kind of the weapon, that she can use the tail as a weapon. Great design. She's got some flip-flops on for some reason, even though she floats. I love the purple glow on the sword. And the feathers are beautiful. That's just a great design. Good color combination between the gold and the green. Just very pretty. I love this one. And she's going to be a very good champion. I don't know how long it's going to take to get her. It looked like if you're at lower level of Clan Siege and you win, you'll get just 1 or 2 fragments for her each month, each time we do that. That's going to be every 12 days, and that was something I was really worried about the Clan Siege. I thought that was going to be a constant thing that we were going to have to work on every day, And I do like that we have 12 days for the planning stage, and then they do a matchmaking stage, and then they match us up with another clan, and then we have 2 days to do all of our battles. And it doesn't look like it's going to be that time intensive. I think people will be putting more resources into making a lot of their champions more suited towards PvP. We're going to have a lot of options when it comes to PvP champions. There's going to be certain restrictions on each room, and the clans are going to be able to put restrictions on different towers and places all over the map. So yeah, I think it actually will be pretty fun. I'm not sure the rewards are going to motivate too many players, and usually, I think there's some growing pains when these things happen, and when they bring in a new game mode like this, there's usually a period of about 2 or 3 months where the company decides, okay, is this working? Are we getting people involved? And then usually if they see a problem, they usually make a few tweaks or changes to it. And so I think we're going to have some growing pains, like I said, with the Clan Siege. And I hope, one of the things I worry about a little bit is that maybe clans will put too many resources in at the early stages of it before we really figure it out. But the fun part is going to be that there's going to be some clan leaders who really strategize and figure it out quickly, and it'll be kind of fun to see, the matchups and where they assign certain players to take fights, and there's going to be some clan infighting too, I can imagine, on some of the clans where a player is just going to bull in and do whatever they want to do without actually communicating with the clan. And that problem could be solved, but with some better clan communication tools in the game. I've seen games that have much better clan communication than this game has. This game it's very rudimentary, and I don't believe it's sufficient. And I know everybody, I've mentioned this before, but I know everybody uses, not everybody, but I know a lot of people use Discord, and a lot of clans depend on it, especially with coordination and stuff like that. But this is going to be kind of another level, and I almost think they should come out with a communication system that includes some of the different game modes even. I think it would be very valuable so that the clan leaders could communicate and make assignments using a communication system like that. And I know that would be a tough thing to design, and maybe it's very complicated, but I've seen it in other games, and I've been playing mobile games for at least 10 or 15 years. So, and some of the games that I've played 10 or 15 years ago had better communication systems than this one has currently. So I know it's possible, and I don't know why they haven't put more into. I think it would increase clan activity, and it would be easier, especially with this new game mode, to be able to assign players to different towers and things like that, so that things don't get out of hand. But we'll see if they come out with something like that. Usually when enough players talk about something, and I've noticed that a lot of the players and content creators have been talking a lot about, hey, we're going to need some more communication tools here, and for right now, I'm guessing we'll just be using Discord, and the really active clans, all of them use Discord because there's no other option. I just wanted to go over her kit really fast. She's going to be a very, very good PvE champion, but I actually think there's some use for her in PvP as well. In her A1 is an AoE, which is great. Attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. That moves up to a 70% chance. On an AoE to get 70% for decreased attack, that's a really nice A1. Her A2, Dread Dominion, has a 75% chance to place a block buffs debuff and a true fear debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. And that's just a place. You'll notice that's not a hit on that one. That's good in both PvE and PvP. If the target is a boss, has a 75% chance to place a block buffs debuff and a 30% decreased speed debuff on them instead. So she has utility there both in PvP and PvE, where she can put the decreased speed on. As far as I know, this is the only champion that will have a block buffs and decreased speed available to us for Hydra, and because it's a place, it can go through Poison Cloud also. So that's a beautiful skill for Hydra, and this will be really good for Arena also, as long as the team doesn't have Stone Skin or block debuffs on them. So her A3, Icon of Dominion, removes all debuffs from a single ally except this champion, and places 2 intercept stacks on them. So we get 2 intercept stacks on an ally, also fills the target ally's turn meter by 50% and resets the cooldown of all of their skills. Imagine this one in Hydra Clash. I mean, you could put her with a Trunda. Just, imagine what that's going to do. That'll be great. And then her passive, Authority Manifest. This champion is immune to sheep debuffs. Each debuff placed by this champion decreases the target's turn meter by 5% and permanently decreases their resistance and accuracy by 10. Stacks up to 100. So if you're in a long fight, that's gonna be massive. And that doesn't say that the bosses are immune to this. So the boss's resistance and accuracy is going to be reduced by 10 every time she places a debuff on them. Now, with Hydra, because the heads reset every time they're decapitated, that I don't know that you'll get that stack up to 100, but that's a pretty big reduction in both resistance and accuracy to the Hydra heads. That could turn the tide in an arena battle also. So yeah, she's very versatile. And then she has a speed in all battles by 24%. It's a great speed aura. I believe that's the same aura as Lysandra. Yeah. Speed in all battles by 24. So she has sort of the Lysandra speed aura, which is one of the best speed auras in the game because it's that versatile. It goes all the way across all battles. So she's going to be a great champion. Good prize for anyone who's able to, with their clan, win Clan Siege a lot of weeks. So yeah, we don't know how long it's going to take, and it looks like also there's going to be some problems with Clan Siege where there may be no winner. And so if you don't fulfill the criteria for victory, there will be a lot of cases where both clans could actually not win, and that's gonna stink. I really think that's not good. Back on the free to play here, the other thing we have coming up, and I will get to sort of the update what both of the accounts are doing too. I was kind of excited about this. We have a 10 times 2x. We have 2x sacreds coming up this weekend, so that's good. That's what I was hoping for, and I'm glad they're doing it. But we also have a 10 times on this new Lizardman Faction Unity champion, Legate Teox, and I am really excited about this one. He's so good. And Faction Unity, if you didn't know this, Faction Unity champions are only available in special events. So you might see them come up in a Prism Summon events sometimes, or if they do a 10 times on them. For normal shard pulls, these Faction Unity champions aren't going to be available. But for this weekend, this one, Legate Teox, will be on. I don't know how to say anything, and I like my way, so I don't care. I think he's by far the best Faction Unity champion they've come up with so far. Really great skills, especially good in long battles, and if you can pair some good Lizardmen with him. And I want to go through his kit a little bit too, because he's a really exciting one. His A1 is Guerrilla Tactics, attacks one enemy 2 times, so he's got a 2-hitter on his A1. The ally with the highest crit damage will team up and join the attack. The ally joining the attack will use their default skill. This is massive, like especially if you've got maybe a Fushan on your team. His A1 is crazy, and it can repeat. It can hit multiple times. That's just for example. Then the damage dealt by this champion and the ally joining the attack will be increased by 10% for each debuff on the target. Stacks up to 100%. So you can actually get 100% more damage with debuffs on your target. So if you've got a team that places a whole bunch of debuffs, that's going to really increase your damage in a fight like this. That's a great skill. So that alone is a really cool skill. Let's look at his A2. Draconian Retribution. Attacks one enemy 3 times. He's got a triple hitter on his A2. Each hit will ignore 10% of the target's defense for each debuff on the target. Stacks up to 50%. So if you have 5 debuffs, you have a 50% ignore defense. And then if you add, Savage or Lethal onto that, plus Helm Smasher, I mean, you're getting very close to true damage on that one. Each hit will also increase this champion's attack by 10%, stacks up to 50%. And I'm assuming that lasts, the duration of the battle. So in a long battle like Hydra, that would be huge also. Or any of the boss fights, actually, in like Doom Tower boss fights or any of those that tend to drag on quite a bit, he could build that up really fast and get 50% more attack. That's huge as well, especially if you've got, I mean, and you would obviously build this one for damage. So grants an extra turn if this attack kills an enemy. So if you're doing minions or waves or whatever, you know, that builds up over time, and then he kills an enemy and then he gets an extra turn. And with his extra turn, these skills are huge. Okay, so here's the A3, this is the faction unity one. Wrath of the Legion attacks all enemies. So he's got an AoE on his A3. Before attacking, places 50% increase attack buff and a 30% increased damage buff on this champion for 2 turns. Places an extra hit on enemies under any debuffs. Again, here's that debuff thing where he just gets stronger the more debuffs are on the enemy. So if he's only got 1 Lizardman on the team, okay, he will ignore strengthen, ally protection, and shield buffs. Okay. And if you have 2 faction allies, if enemies are killed by this skill while under a debuff, places a block revive debuff on them. Okay, so all they have to have is a debuff on them, and he'll place block revive if he kills that enemy. Especially, I mean, in arena, that would be, oh, what a great skill that is. And because block revive is so powerful in arena, especially live arena. You know, you've got so many, you know, you've got Sun Wukongs all over the place, and then you've usually got revivers on the teams, and putting that block revive on, that can end the fight, because then, you know, once your damage dealer is out of the fight and can't be revived, then most of the time your opponent will just quit the fight, and that just it speeds things up so much. It's block revive is great for live arena. And then if you have 3 faction allies, deals 20% more damage for each debuff on each enemy, stacks up to 100%. Okay, so again, there with 5 debuffs, you get 100% more damage on each enemy. Great skill. Okay, passive. Here's the passive that affects the rest of the team. You know, the rest of your allies. Survival at all costs. Fills this champion's turn meter by 5% whenever an enemy or an ally receives a debuff. Okay, so the whole idea with this champion is you're trying to put as many debuffs on your enemies as possible. Whenever they receive debuffs, you're getting a 5% increase in your turn meter. So that's, you know, if you get 5 debuffs on your 20, you get a 25%, and that's for each enemy. Okay, and then if your allies receive any debuffs, you get turn meter there also. So I can imagine if you had a cleanser, that increase in turn meter would help so that you get that cleanse going. Okay, so here's the faction unity part. So if he has 1 ally that's from the Lizardmen, he has a 25% chance to counterattack whenever an ally is attacked by an enemy under a debuff. But when he uses his A1, remember, the ally with the highest crit damage joins in on that attack. So that's big. And then if there are multiple champions on the team with this skill, this effect will only activate once. So that's kind of understandable. Like if you had 2 Legate Teoxes on your team, that would be weird for both of them to activate this skill at the same time. 2 faction allies. So if you got 2 Lizardmen on the team, decreases the damage this champion receives from enemies under debuffs by 50%. I mean, that's that. You cut in half the damage that you're seeing. and the damage allies receive from enemies under debuffs by 20%. So all you have to, so that's the main thing, is getting debuffs on the enemy. Once you get debuffs on the enemy, not only are you doing more damage to enemies that have debuffs on them, you're receiving less damage to your team when they have debuffs on them as well. So if you have 3 faction allies, so 3 Lizardmen plus him, I'm assuming, I'm sure that means 4. All allies are immune to sheep debuffs. If you can put a team together with Lizardmen, so let's look at, and then his aura increases attack in all battles by 30%. So in all battles, aura is great, and then increases ally accuracy in all battles by 40, but it only applies to the Lizardmen. So you can also get a big boost to your Lizardmen accuracy to be able to place those debuffs by 40. You get both the increased attack and the increased accuracy if you've got a bunch of Lizardmen on your team. Those are some great skills. He's got some pretty good base stats. It's not the most survivability, not the most speed, but he does have resistance, and he does have some base resistance and some crit rate and crit damage. The speed isn't the highest, but it's not bad. And defense could be a little bit higher, but that's pretty high attack, right there too. And then, with all that damage mitigation plus damage increase that he can do, he's going to be a really good champion. And if you get a chance, Scratch did a video showing kind of the potential that this champion has on the test server. And he's just crazy. I mean, he put some great gear on him. He just did some amazing things. So whenever I see Scratch impressed by a champion and what it can do, because he plays at a very high level, and when he's impressed with what a champion can do and is excited about somebody, I trust him. I get excited about it too. So if you're able to pull him on the 10X, on the 2X this weekend, you'd be very fortunate to have that one on your account. So let's look at some of the Lizardmen that you could pair with a Legate Teox. Now see, Dracomorph is a great debuffer because he places the decreased defense and the weaken on his A3 skill. That's a really nice one as well, because if you're doing this in Hydra, again, that place can place through Poison Cloud. If the heads manage to get that Poison Cloud put up, the toxic head, the one that does the poisons, if he gets that Poison Cloud put up, if that poison head, and I always call him the poison head because he's the one that poisons everybody, but he also puts up the toxic or the poison cloud, and if he's able to manage to get that put up, if you didn't get your block buffs on or something like that, and that sometimes will happen through the rotation of a Hydra fight, this will still place through the poison cloud, and then he also does his poisons, and if you can put up a bunch of poisons and those two debuffs, Dracomorph would be a good one. Roxam also does decreased defense and weaken, although I think he's just single target. No, he's not. So Roxam does that as well. Roxam might be a good option because and especially in waves, I don't know, maybe you bring in Roxam for some debuffing in Arena. Who knows? Basatha is actually an Arena champion, and he places stun immediately on somebody who gets revived. So Basatha could be one that you might experiment with in Arena. Fushan is really good because he hits hard, and his A1 has a 25% chance of placing an extra hit. Well, that can keep going and it can stack up. I've seen 6 or 8 hits before. He doesn't do it all the time, but 25% chance. But then each time he hits, it gives you another 25% chance of placing an extra hit. So he's a good one. He does stuns also, and then he has decreased defense at random. Okay, so he places these random hits and does decreased defense. Yeah, anyway, there's some good Lizardmen on here. There's, Chagur places a ton of poisons on teams. Sulfurion places the HP burns, and he can actually be really good in Arena also because of how they've increased the damage that HP burn can do to stone skin, and that's a way to get a debuff onto some stone skin champions. And he's also a reviver. So, there's a lot of options. Krisk, lots of debuffs with Krisk, and he can do some pretty good damage, although I think you don't usually build Krisk with that kind of stuff. But you can bring a Krokmar in for damage. Nekmothar does quite a few debuffs. He does decrease attack on his A1, and it's a pretty good chance. It goes on quite often. And then he has decreased speed and a leech on his A2. And also, a lot of people build, because he does so many AoEs, a lot of people build in a cursed set. So that would give you Hex as well. And there's a lot of options here with the Lizardmen. So Venomage, and when we go down to epics, Venomage does a ton of poisons. She does heal reduction. She does decreased defense and decreased attack on one enemy. You could really stack up a lot of debuffs with a lot of these. And then Aox is good because he has a passive that increases the duration of 2 random debuffs on an attacker by 1 turn when attacked, and that occurs once per hit. If you had Aox on a team and you're taking some hits, it would increase the duration of their debuffs. So you have a few pretty hard hitters. You've got quite a few that place a lot of debuffs. This Broodlord does provoke, decrease speed. He does decrease speed on his passive. So whenever an ally under ally protection is hit, there's a chance to place decreased speed on the attacker. And there's a lot of options here, and it just depends on what you have available to you on your roster. But I think Lizardmen is a good is a good faction for this faction unity champion. I think there's a lot of synergy, and people are going to discover some cool things. And you know, if you're not lucky enough to have a Lazarius, you know, you're you're really set. He's a great one to have too. But then, you know, Ramontu is so good for arena, and if you fill up your roster with Lizardmen, he's not going to get sheeped in arena. So that makes him really valuable also. And you may not be able to fight at the highest levels of live arena or anything like that, but if you've got some of these Lizardmen, it would be very powerful at lower levels of arena too. So I'm excited about that. I'm not going to get super disappointed if I don't get him, but we will be opening shards on the free to play. We've got 6 sacreds. I will be opening all 6 of them. Because we are going for the Packmaster fusion, and 2x sacreds is a perfect time to open our sacred shards. So that'll be really fun. So join me on Friday. We'll open some sacred shards, and we've already had some crazy luck on the free to play account. Let's get some more crazy luck. Who knows? Plus, okay, another thing that happened. So I wanted to show you what I got from Clan Boss this morning. Check this out. I got my first sacred shard from Nightmare on this was on the budget account. I'm able to do a 4-key on Nightmare on the budget account, and you might consider that it's kind of a waste because I'm only collecting the 2 chests where I could be collecting, you know, the top chest from Brutal and then maybe a mid chest from Nightmare. But the top chest on Nightmare is the first chance that you get of getting a sacred shard, and we were lucky enough to get a sacred and then a 5-piece chest from Cruel Set. It didn't turn out to be a good one, but that was nice. This was the second chest I pulled with a legendary book in it, and then a 5-star immortal. It was a really good day for Clan Boss for the budget account. Finally getting some luck on the budget account. So now we have 3 sacred shards available to us on the budget account. We will be pulling all 3 of those. It might be a little bit tougher on the budget account to get to the fragments that we need to this champion chase, but we've got some stuff going on. I think we'll be okay. We are at 50 fragments, and that's on both the budget and the free to play. We were also able to get to the spider tournament done, and we got the prism crystals, so we'll be able to get a prism summon done, and that'll be a minimum 250 points for the champion chase this weekend. So 2x sacreds plus the 10 times for Legate, and just that's going to be really fun. Then we'll see what we can get. We'll just see what we can get for the budget account. We need some improvements. We want to pull a legendary. We still haven't pulled anything legendary for the budget account, and we've pulled a legendary and a mythical on the free to play. We do have our Adeline, and she's been performing pretty well. That was the other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit. We had a new rotation of Doom Tower open up yesterday, and I was able to get up kind of to the same place we were able to get up for last month, and I got stuck on Bommel again. And I think if I put Adeline, because she was kind of last man standing at the end with the Brimstone, I think she can survive this fight and win if she's in regen gear. She was able to get the boss down to a level, and then I used Greybeard in here as well to freeze the bombs, or to freeze the big kettle bombs. I don't remember what those are called. The dread bombs, I think. Yeah, we used Greybeard to freeze the dread bombs, and then they do less damage when you do that. And so, but yeah, you can see I don't have a lot of options here on the budget account. On the free to play, we were actually able to get past Bommel this time, which was crazy. And here's the team I used for that. Again, Greybeard because of the freeze, but he died pretty early because he's not built up very much. And so did Basher. Lady Quillen didn't survive very long. The main 2 though that did survive was Stagnite. Having Stagnite on here was huge because he's strong affinity to this Bommel boss, which is Force. And Adeline here just did a great job. And so they were able to get past that, and then you can see I was able to use all my keys the first day. We're kind of stuck now but I even got one of these stages done because Adeline has a 5-star. So I was able to get one of these awakened stages, and that was great too. But I mean, yeah, I've been able to use Rhodos. Rhodos is so good everywhere. And Seer, my Seer isn't really built up yet, but yeah, having her available is great. Wasn't able to get, there's a couple of these boss fights I wasn't able to solve, but we're on our way. So that's been really fun, and it's fun to have some options when they open up. But yeah, on the budget account, I will have to do some work on Adeline. I think some re-gearing is in order, get her in some regen gear, and that's only going to help us in Clan Boss too with her. And then I think we start winning some more of these boss fights, because she could pretty much solo them with the Brimstone. We're on track with the champion training tournament. I've just been working on champion training for the last little while. Haven't gotten too far here on the budget account, because we had to finish that spider. I wanted to finish spider first, get the crystals, and so now we're working on champ training, and that training event goes on for another 3.5 days, and then we have dragon tournament coming up in 16 hours from now, from the time I'm recording this, and that is going to help us finish our dungeon divers. We're not that far with dungeon divers, and I'd really like to get up to this 5,000, but we at least have to get to the 3,700 points to get the Packmaster fragments. That'll give us our second dungeon divers completed on that one. But yeah, I'd love to be able to get this 5,000. I'm not sure we'll be able to swing it, but I'm going to do whatever I can. But I'm not going to feed a whole bunch more energy into it until Dragon starts. The farming in campaign is a little less efficient than doing the dungeons. So for dungeon divers, so I'm going to lean into it pretty hard tomorrow for Dragon. Also, I figured something out. I said I was having some. I'm a little embarrassed on this one. I said previously in another video that I was having some trouble with multi-battles, and I thought it was maybe because I was on BlueStacks or something. No, it was because I had forgotten all about how some things work in the game. And I apologize for this, but let's just go. I'll just go into Spider here and do my Spider 10, and I'll show you. So yeah, we'll do super raids. So when you click on multi-battles, this is something I just totally didn't, I don't even look at this most of the time anymore, but I didn't have these two boxes checked. So continue multi-battle even when all champions hit max level. That was the one stopping me. And I didn't even realize. For some reason, I didn't even think about it, wasn't even looking at those. And the other day, I look up and I go, oh, that's why my multi-battles aren't working. So, and then continue multi-battle even if you lose a battle. That one is one that I only check if I'm positive that my team is pretty reliable. If you're not sure, uncheck that box, because you don't want it to just keep going and using all your energy and losing every battle. So that's one I would really pay attention to. But I'm almost 100%. I think I'm pretty much 100. In fact, I don't think I've lost one of these. So I feel good about this one. So I do have that box checked on this level 10 of Spider. But yeah, the continue multi-battle even when all champions have hit max level. For some reason, I thought that was just checked by default, that's even an option. And I just missed it. I totally missed it. So now multi-battles are going fine, and the game's a lot easier when you can do multi-battles, especially when you've got a Dragon tournament or a Fire Knight tournament or Spider tournament going on. You can just let it on multi-battles. You can have your account working while you're doing something else, and that frees up some time during your day. Even if you're completely mobile and your phone is in your pocket, that's, sometimes when I'm at work, that's what I do. I put my phone in my pocket and I let the multi-battles run. And then I go off at lunch and I check and see what we did. So sometimes that's the way to do it there too. And then the enabling super raids, that one was checked automatically. And then I never do this, the use gems to automatically restore energy, just in case I accidentally, hit it to do all of the multi-battles that I have available. So anyway, if that's helpful to you, so this happened. I've been struggling with, should I tell anybody that that's what happened to me? But if that's a thing that happened to you, no shame. You'll never get any shame from me. But yeah, so I thought I'd admit to that just to show everybody that, I did figure out what the problem was with the multi-battles. Had nothing to do with BlueStacks. and everything to do with me just not reading and not looking up. So I have done that now. I've admitted it. I've announced my shame publicly, and you are all witness to that. Just wanted to show one more thing before I go. I love this new Ogren. I just love the way he looks. He's got the jewelry. He's so cool. The Diamant copper coin. He's got all that treasure in his little treasure chest back there, and just gold things, and even his weapons have gold plating and jewelry on them, and yeah, he's just very decorated. Looks like every race in Teleria has their own aesthetic, what they think is beautiful. He's got some emeralds in his crown, earrings. The eye patch even has a ruby in it. That's just great. I love this design. Yeah. And I think he's actually going to be a cool champion too. I mean, he's a Void Legendary, not too accessible, but very cool. I really like that one. Cool addition to the game. And then they also introduced this new mythical demon spawn, this Commodus Dark Smile. And I mean, just very cool. I love the skin of this one too. It almost looks like he's got a mask on, and he's got the tiny little wings. He's a demon with the tiny little wings, and then he's a bomber, HP bomber, which is going to be interesting. I'm not sure how much damage the HP bombs are going to do, what the multiplier is going to be for that. So that'll be interesting to find that out. But his second form, he looks like the crazy clown from what's it called? Was there a character in Spawn that was a crazy clown-looking character, like a demon like that? I'm gonna look that up. Yeah, that's what that. Yeah, I just looked it up. That's what that reminds me of. Is the when I first saw this, I was like, "What does this remind me of?" It reminds me of something. And his smile. There's an old Spawn movie. It's not that old to me, but for you, it might be an old movie. There's an old movie. It was Spawn, and it's based on the comic. And there's this crazy clown character played by John Leguizamo, and he had this creepy clowny smile, and this really reminds me of that. He doesn't look exactly like it, but it just really reminds me of it. And for a clown, for a demon spawn to be a clown, it's just so great. And then you've got the fire wings, and just a cool design. Just love it. That's it's so great. But yeah, he's got some cool skills too. So again, mythical, not very accessible on that one either, but very cool designs. And yeah, the artwork on the new champions that they have introduced, it always is such a high standard, and they always meet it every time, and it's just really, really great. But I'm really excited, like I said, about the 2 times 10 times coming up this weekend, and so we'll keep trying to do clan boss and collecting more sacred shards for the budget account. Free to play is pretty close to being able to 4-key Nightmare also, but we have to have a good affinity matchup. So when we change over affinity, I've noticed, if we have, I'll show you my team here. If we've got a pretty good mix of affinity on our team, but because we're pretty heavy on magic, if we get spirit affinity, that doesn't hurt Adeline, it seems like, too much if we get spirit affinity, but in this case where we have force, I'm not sure we reach that threshold of being able to 4-key. So it deserves some more experimentation, but I'd like to build the team up just a little bit more before we start trying to 4-key Nightmare. But I think we're close. We have done a couple of keys on Nightmare, because we still do our 2 keys on Brutal on the free to play account, and we're way far over what we need for that to be able to top chest Brutal. And then I always spend the 2 keys on Nightmare that I have left, and a few times we've been over the 10 million kind of threshold that you need to be able to 4-key Nightmare. So I think we're pretty close. So once we get that more comfortable and are able to consistently do that, then I'm going to start feeding all 4 of my keys into Nightmare. And then hopefully by then, we're going to be able to build up a few more champions and increase our gearing level, and hopefully work our way up to getting to Ultra Nightmare. But yeah, that hurdle of getting to top chest on Nightmare is big, just because of like what happened this morning with being able to get a legendary book and a sacred shard. I know that's a pretty lucky day for any top Nightmare chest, but it's possible, and that's what you just give yourself. That's everything you do in this game, is you give yourself opportunities for good RNG, and that's all you can do in this game is keep giving yourself good opportunities for RNG. That's all I had for today. Stick with me this weekend. We'll get some shards open. We'll make some progress on the account. And by then, hopefully, we'll have all the Packmaster fragments collected. And then we'll decide, and then after that, we'll decide when we're going to summon that champion. But yeah, pretty exciting stuff going on. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope you're having a great day, and that if you are doing the fusion, that it's going well. And I hope you saved some sacred shards so that we can do 2x sacreds this weekend. Let me know in the comments how things are going for you on the fusion, or if you decided not to do the fusion. Are you going to do the prism summons? Are you saving them for Friday so that you can get some champion chase points? And then after that happens, let me know. Let me know what you got. Thank you for joining me. I've been Wood, and I appreciate you.